Shelley with the show live, local, topical, and relevant, my friends. Oh, to the gentleman that called in and said, I've lost the plot. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say this, my friends. I am paid to be on the radio every single night and share my opinions. If you disagree with the opinion, you're more than happy. That's why I give out the number. You're more than happy to call in. The plot that I'm trying to tell you is that there were guys in the park playing basketball who had just talked smack. Calling in, and I just laid out the reason why I'm tired of my president talking smack. If you're going to bomb somebody, bomb them. If you give them a deadline, follow the deadline. You're losing the plot, sir, if you can't call in and tell me where I've lost the plot. You're, again, doing what the kids in the park used to do. You're just bucking up. I'll knock you out, Shelly. You throw the first punch, Shelly. You're just calling in, yelling at the call screener, and then hanging up. Because you really have nothing to say. Oh, what a day I had. So listen, lady, should I do this now? Yes. Let me tell you, the day that I had today, and it kind of ties into what I just talked about. Let me tell you. So I shout out to Jay Cunningham. For those of you who don't know, Jay Cunningham is the owner and of Superior Plumbing. You hear them advertise on our station, right? And he's built this like a plumbing company into a magnificently huge business, right? And I'm going to use them as my plumber because I don't really have a plumber. I need a plumber. So I'm going to be reaching out to them. So he and I spoke, and we met, and we spoke about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he invited me as his guest to come to the Cobb Chamber of Commerce breakfast this morning. So I got up early, and I said, I'll go to the breakfast, put on my little jeans and my dress jacket and my dress shirt. You see, I got my dress shirt on. Whenever I got my dress shirt on, it means that I went someplace. And so I got up early. I went to the Cobb Chamber of Commerce breakfast at the Roxy. It was a wonderful event. Brian Kemp, my guy, my dude, my ace Boone Coon. He was the keynote speaker. And so I was definitely interested in seeing him speak. This is kind of it for him, the swan song, if you will. And so I went to the event, and while there, I met a gentleman who 3 months ago started here in Georgia as the president of the Georgia Manufacturing Association. I don't have the card. His name is Jim Ledbetter, I believe. I mispronounced the last name, but his first name is Jim. He just started. He's 3 months in to the business as the president of the Georgia Manufacturing Association. These are all businesses that are manufacturers, from 10, 15,000 employees all the way down to 5, 10, 15, or 20, right? Everybody in between. And these people, these companies represent millions and millions of Georgians who work at these plants. Many of you listening to me now might be an employee at one of the companies that were at this event. So he told me we're having a candidates forum across the street. I said, I'd like to come. He immediately texted his people, said, yeah, come on. So I went across the street, the Comcast building from Roxy over at the Battery. And they had, the Georgia Manufacturing Association, had all the candidates. Keisha Lance Bottoms was the only one. And they went Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat. So the first candidate who spoke was Derek Jackson. Then they had Derek Jackson, I think then they had Chris Carr. And then after Chris Carr, they had Michael Thurman. Then after Michael Thurman, they had Brad Raffensperger. And then after Raffensperger, Jesse Estevez was coming in, and they went flip-flopped all the way down. Rick Jackson was going to be the last, but I had to come to work. So I saw Brad Raffensperger speak, and then I had to leave. But let me tell you something. I have been following politics on the radio and everything. I've been following politics all my life. But, down here in Georgia, going to rallies, going to events, going to GOP breakfasts, going to GOP dinners, going to GOP luncheons, going to offshoot groups, auxiliary group luncheons, and all kinds of stuff, watching candidates on the campaign trail for years. Let me tell you something. Everyone says the same thing. I'm not going to accuse anybody of speaking differently in front of one group versus the other. They're all saying the same thing. First, let me tell you that. All of them, Democrat and Republican. But in front of a group of manufacturers, people who employ people who have to make sure payroll and timesheets and payroll is made investments are made in research and development. People who have to look at the world slightly differently than Joe, who's the member of the Cobb GOP. Totally different viewpoint. Looking at the world completely differently. The candidates have to respond to this group of people much differently than they have to respond to the Women's Auxiliary Group, Women for Trump, or Republican Women of DeKalb County, whatever group it is. Completely different. You know why? Because the groups that are activist groups that are members of different organizations are more emotional. Manufacturers, it's about the bottom line. There's no emotion in hiring and growing. None whatsoever. It's either good to do business here or it's not. Period. Don't care if you're R or a D. It's either good to do business here or it's not. And to watch the candidates in front of a group like this, you know what you don't get? And I'm happy for it. And I wish it could be done more and more and more. And I wish the candidates themselves or the consultants who are in front of or behind these candidates will let them know that the group, the auxiliary groups, the Cobb GOP, the Gwinnett GOP, the Fulton County Women, whatever group it is, Women for Trump, whatever group it is that you're going in front of, Pools Barbecue up in North Georgia, wherever you're going. I would wish that your candidates, I would wish that the candidates would understand that that group of people are just as vested and just as intelligent and just as brilliant as the manufacturing group was. Because trust me, there were no bumper stickers yelled out. I didn't hear one candidate on the right talk about men and women's sports. Not one time. You know why? Because if you're running a manufacturing plant that employs 5,000 people, you can care less about men and women's sports. You know why? Because you need to get product out at a fair price with low taxes, and you need to be able to hire. And you also know that it ain't happening, so it's not a big deal. Because your daughters, the owner of that manufacturing plant doesn't have a daughter coming home, because they have daughters, but they're not coming home saying, Daddy, I can't believe there's a boy playing volleyball against me. It doesn't happen. None of the candidates talked about deporting everybody. Of course not, because it's the manufacturing companies. They didn't change their message. I don't want anybody to believe for a second that I'm accusing any of these folks that showed up today of changing their message. Not a single one of them did. They all stuck to their platforms and their policies, Republican and Democrat. No one changed their message. But they did leave a lot out that I've seen spoken elsewhere. It's interesting. We should have more association forums in front of people who have a vested interest, both financial, employee-wise, and much, much more, than having all of these forums in front of yahoos on both sides. Shelley Winter Show, 448-720-750, 1-800-WSB-TALK.